The video will come up at the count of five. Five. Let's do the countdown together. Four, three, two, one. Let's go. All right. Welcome back. Wasn't that inspiring? Please let's give it up for Mr. Jim Keys. That was a beautiful life. And right before I call him up, I met him in person at Ghana. Oh my God, the Global Entrepreneurship Festival. Beyond his adorableness, he is super intelligent. My God. And you guys don't even know what's coming for you. I bet you're ready with your pens and your books because you're about to draw. Okay? All right. Um, Now I open the floor for Mr. Jim Keys.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much. That was a very, very kind introduction. I appreciate it. And I especially like the adorableness part. Um, just a quick check. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear. I can hear.
Are we good audio?
And also, can you hear me?
Yes? Are we good on audio? Yes? Okay, good. All right. I have a very special gift for you today. It's not a physical gift. It's a mental gift. And I'm going to give you the secret to success. And the secret to success in the future especially a future with AI and technology and all the fear that people have today of change um, is actually an opportunity. All right, so I'm going to step back for a minute because I've shared some of this gift with you before. I talked about change equals opportunity. I talked about in the past why it's important to learn what you have to learn, but the what you have to learn, change, confidence, and clarity is so important as a preparation because before you're able to take advantage of all that this world has to offer, you have to be able to prepare yourself to win. Just recently, you may have heard of West Point Military Academy, where the United States trains all of its future military leaders. I had a cadet come up to me and share her father's advice that it's not the will to win that matters, it's the will to prepare to win that makes all the difference in the world. So this idea that change is inevitable, it doesn't matter what happens to you. What matters is how you respond to it. Your ability to have confidence is critically important because you have to be able to have confidence in yourself and in your ability to be able to adapt to change. And then the third thing is the clarity, the ability to understand, to break complex problems into simple terms, and the ability both to have inbound clarity from listening and outbound clarity from speaking. So those are things I've covered before. I call that the what to learn as a prerequisite to your success. But what I want to talk about today, because I know we're going to talk about character, and this whole session is about the importance of character and how people really will be able to form their character. But let me share with you today the why to learn. Because a lot of people say, I don't know, is it that important? Why do I really have to go to school? Why do I have to attend college? Why do I have to keep learning throughout my entire life? Here's why. I'm going to give you again three things that I hope you'll remember as far as it's why learning and lifetime learning is so critically important. Here are the three. Number one, collaboration. You see, we live in a world that requires us to work with other people, whether we like it or not. Sometimes it's easier to work by ourselves. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs can make is they start a business, they do everything themselves, and then they bring on more and more employees, more team members, but they don't want to let go. They keep trying to do everything themselves. The key to success is to be able to scale as an entrepreneur, to be able to scale your enterprise. 7-Eleven now has 90,000 stores worldwide, but they started with one store 99 years ago with one store in Dallas, Texas, and they expanded now to almost 90,000 stores worldwide. That would not have happened if the original founders didn't learn to collaborate, learn to trust others, learn to work with others. So the collaboration is important. The second I'm going to give you is cultural literacy. You see, the world is made up of very different people, and it's very much human nature to surround yourself with people that look just like you, sound just like you, act just like you. It makes us comfortable. And yet, success comes from understanding people who are not like you. Because if you want to have success all over the world, you have to understand other cultures. So, cultural literacy. second of this gift that I'm sharing with you today. And the third is this idea of character and the idea that each of us is a brand, and that brand is important. We all have our favorite brands, but what is your brand? What does it really mean? So those are the three, and I'm going to come back in a little more detail and talk about each one. But those three, collaboration, cultural literacy, and character, I believe is my gift to you today because those represent the why. Why is it important to keep learning? Why is it important for you to be able to embrace success? Because those three elements will allow you to be a global business person, a global successful person, and a leader. So let's go back. Let's talk about each one. Collaboration. Let's go back to collaboration. What is collaboration? Why is it important? I sat in a session recently, a leadership development session, where I got to sit in with a band. It's really interesting for me. A band, an orchestra, a marching band. It was actually the West Point Marching Band. And it was a lesson in leadership with a band. You say, well, what does music have to do with leadership? It's a very important lesson. Each instrument was asked to play, and they sounded good individually. The trumpets, the oboe, the violin, even the drums, individually. And then, one by one, they were asked to join another instrument. So they started with the violins, and the violins were playing. You can almost imagine this in your mind. A beautiful violin, first one, and then two, three, four violins jump in. And then the other strings, the bass and the cellos start to play. And there's this beautiful violin music. But then the conductor brings in the trumpets and the brass starts to sound. But they're all playing in unison, in collaboration together. And then the drums, and then the oboe, and then the tuba, and then all of the other instruments come together and they create what? A beautiful harmony that is not ever going to be possible by any one instrument. So, what one instrument can play that will be beautiful, two instruments can make even better because now two instruments can play in harmony. 3, 4, 10, 20, 100 instruments coming together creates a beautiful sound that could never otherwise be replaced. Now, that's an easy thing for us to say, oh, okay, well, that makes sense for music. It's exactly the same in business. Our strengths individually are fine, but they're never going to be enough by themselves to create that harmony, to create that collaboration opportunity. It truly is a 1 + 1 equals not 2. 1 + 1 may equal 10 if we do this right, if we bring together people to collaborate. But here's the stumbling block. Collaboration is hard. Why? Because of our ego, our our independence, our natural reluctance to work with someone else. In fact, I'm going to go back to that orchestra. In that orchestra, imagine now, just use your imagination with me. Imagine those instruments are people. Imagine that violin, and that violin's a person. It's got little eyes on it. And the violin looks at the bass. What do you think the violin's going to think in their head? Maybe whisper to the other violins. That bass is fat. Look at that. It's huge. And boy, they sound bad. They don't have the beauty of sound that we have. They're going to think that, right? That's what humans do to each other. And then think about the bass then looks over at the brass. You look funny and you sound funny. And then they both look at the oboe and they say, "You're just weird. I don't even know what you are. You're strange looking." This is how people behave. And it's sad, but it's real. Now, if those instruments were people, they would be making fun of each other until the conductor stands up there, and this is what leadership is all about, and taps the baton and says, "Now come together." And they all look around and they say, "Wow, wow, I am so glad that I'm part of this beautiful harmony that would not be possible." And you know what? When the violin looks over at that bass and says, "Yeah, maybe you look okay," because the sound, the opportunity, the harmony that's created overcomes all of the perceived differences that we have when we look at each other. And it's a beautiful thing to think, but now translate that back off the stage and into your company, into your entrepreneurial venture. And do you have a venture that is all the same instruments? Or do you have different instruments? Do you have different people with different skills, with different in the Northeastern United States, near Boston? And in my area, in the small town that I grew up in, we only had two cultures, Irish and Italian. And both of those cultures gave each other a hard time. The Irish teased the Italians teased the Irish. And suddenly I had the chance to go to school in London. And I went to a place called Goldsmiths College down in southeast section of London and a place called Lewisham. If you know the UK, you know London. And for the first time ever, I as an American ended up in a place where I was not surrounded by people just like me. And it was uncomfortable at first because I thought everyone would like Americans. It turns out they didn't like Americans much at all, or at least they didn't like me. And I was really upset for the first few months there. I wasn't making friends and people didn't really want to interact with me as I had hoped they would. And so I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know how to better handle this situation. And it turns out that the people who took me under their wing were the minority in the UK. My Indian friends, my Pakistani friends, and they said, "Jim, you're not in America anymore. You have to adapt. You have to learn the British culture. You have to learn to assimilate here if you're going to be successful in Britain. They have a different way of doing things." And this was as simple as when I went to a pub with my friends, they would sit and chat. As an American, we didn't talk. We played video games, we played ping pong, we played foosball, but we didn't sit and have a dialogue. So I literally had to learn the British culture and learn to change my way of dealing with other people. Something else that then happened. I was a baseball player and they taught me how to play cricket. And all of a sudden, they were laughing at me because the British make fun of baseball players because in the UK that's what girls play. And and so they called it rounders instead of baseball. And so they were teasing me, they were making fun of me. And they brought me out to play for the first game of the, not the first game, but the this kind of spring training where they would have tryouts for the team. And they brought me out more or less to laugh because they thought as an American I'd fail. But I was an athlete, and baseball is not that different from cricket, and I felt very confident at bat. And so all of a sudden, I'm hitting 6 runs at a time. And I thought, what a great game. I can hit a foul ball in this game and I get 6 runs for it. This is fabulous. And I ended up making the team. And so my experience went from really bad, not thinking anyone liked me, to all of a sudden, by the time I left after a year in the UK, I was one of the most popular kids on campus. Now, that in itself was a good experience, but it wasn't until many years later that I learned what really happened. What really happened to me is the ability to come back to the United States as a completely different person. Now I had cultural literacy. Now I understood people from different parts of the world, and I could translate that into business success. Why? Because 7-Eleven did a lot of business in Asia. And when I traveled to Japan, I was doing a lot of business in Japan. I decided to learn the Japanese language. That one step of learning the language in a new country helped me better understand their culture. It was a huge, huge advantage for me. And then little did I realize that the franchise group of America, mostly in America, would be from first generation Americans, people that had come from other countries. And the largest of that group were from Pakistan and India. Well, these were my friends in college. So I understood their culture. I had been to their 4-day weddings and I had had dinner with their families. And so it was a very comfortable experience for me. So it ended up being a huge competitive advantage for me personally at 7-Eleven because my largest franchise group ended up being from two cultures that I became very comfortable with and them with me. So it ended up being a personal advantage, this idea of cultural literacy, and it ended up being an advantage for the company because it helped me scale 7-Eleven. I had the privilege of bringing 7-Eleven to China. And what a privilege that was to be able to take 7-Eleven, an American institution, and introduce it to the Chinese people. But I could not have done that if I hadn't worked so hard to understand other cultures and to be able to do business all over the world. Now, why is this important to you? Well, you are sitting today in the single greatest geographic opportunity on this planet. You see, I look at the continent of Africa and see America 100 years ago or 200 years ago, absolutely about to explode with unlimited opportunity. And you know what the secret to that is going to be? The people of Africa and their hunger to learn. That's what I experienced when I was in Ghana. That's what I hope to experience when I go back. We're having another Entrepreneurs Festival in Egypt later this year. But I see unlimited opportunity. Now, here's why I get so excited. And I mentioned AI before. When AI comes, it's going to change a lot. And there's two ways people will react. They'll either pull back out of fear or they'll embrace it, embrace the change. Here's what I believe the opportunity is. AI and technology is shrinking this world, shrinking it faster than humans have ever seen before. Let me give you an example. I am doing business right now with a Chinese company who is looking for assistance here in the United States. And I'm going to share with you some of the messages that I get. I get messages, I don't know if you can see my phone, in Chinese, real time. So this is like WhatsApp. It's called WeChat in China. And I can go back and forth with simultaneous translation with a Chinese CEO who doesn't speak a lot of English and I speak no Chinese, but we can communicate real time. This technology, that is just now emerging, this live translation, the new earbuds that you have that do simultaneous translation are making it possible. Look what we're doing right now. I'm sitting in Dallas, Texas at 10 o'clock in the morning having a chat with people in Africa, and we're learning from each other. We have the ability to learn. Imagine the future possibilities of technology. This is just today. And these are tools that you're growing up with that most people my age are afraid of. They don't even want to try. They don't even want to experiment with some of these new technologies. So if you combine your cultural literacy with the with a shrinking world and emerging global markets, you will be able to take the future success of Africa and make it a global opportunity. You could have the next 7-Eleven right now that becomes 90,000 stores worldwide. It is absolutely unlimited opportunity that you face if you learn to collaborate, if you learn cultural literacy. And then if you do one more thing, and this is the most important of my message today, if you recognize that your character, and only you can build your character. What is character? Think of it as a brand. I have this brand right now. Some of us like another brand. Could be a blue brand called Pepsi. Some of us like other brands. What's the difference between this and Pepsi, or between this water and another water? Partly it's the packaging. People like the packaging of Fiji water versus perhaps another brand. Your packaging is important. I know a lot of people say, I'm a tech entrepreneur, so I have to wear a t-shirt and jeans. But if you're going to go raise 100 million bucks, you might want to put on a tie. And I know it sounds crazy, but there is an image that you need to cultivate that will go with what your brand represents. Now, it doesn't really matter. A personal appearance, there's only so much we can do. I'm stuck with this face, I'm stuck with this body, but I can always package my appearance in a way that will make it more comfortable for that other person doing business with me. And so that's something to keep in mind, that your appearance is a factor. The appearance of this water is important. The appearance of this soft drink is important. But that's not the most important. What do you think is more important than this package itself? It's what's inside.
Recording stopped.
It's what's inside. And your inside, your elements of integrity, gratitude, humility, your ability to collaborate, your compassion for other people, your ability to communicate, all of those things that you are and have inside will create your brand. So don't forget that character is your brand. And think about it. Do you want to do business with someone you can't trust? No one does. Do you want to do business with someone who is so full of themselves that they don't care about you? No one wants to. Only you can develop your character. Your integrity is one of those things that once it's gone, it's gone. But once you build it and you work on it every single day, that integrity will stay with you the rest of your career and the rest of your life. So keep that in mind. Your character is your brand. Do you want to be a global brand? Do you want to be one of the best known and trusted brands in the world? Or do you want to be just some other brand on the shelf that nobody cares about, that ends up not being popular, not being preferred by the other people that do business? You want to always nurture your brand. Okay, so I'm going to step back then and recap. What have I shared with you today? Absolute key to success. First, what to learn. You have to learn to adapt to change, have confidence and clarity. Once you know what to learn and you work on those elements, now it's time to start working on why is all that important? It's because your personal brand, your ability to collaborate, your cultural literacy to understand everyone else in the world. And I'm going to give you one more trick on how to manage that. And your character are critically important. Now, that brand package of collaboration, cultural literacy, and character fit hand in glove with the need to change, the need to have confidence and clarity. And so, how do they come together? One simple way. I'm pretty confident. I'm a pretty confident person. My confidence has led to my success. But what's that line between confidence and arrogance? One simple thing. You see, I like to think that I'm smart enough to know what I don't know. And that every human walking this planet, every single person knows something that I don't know. So my objective is to learn from them. What can I learn from you? You see, that way, every person I meet throughout my life, I can take away a piece of them, a learning from them with me, and I now become a patchwork quilt of every person that I've encountered through my entire career and my entire life, which will make me a person of collaboration, of cultural literacy, and it will enhance my character. And if I always look at that from that angle, then I can be as confident as I want to be without crossing the line into arrogance. You too can work on your collaboration, cultural literacy, character, and you can be as confident as you want to be because you must be to be successful. But always remember that your confidence comes from recognizing that you can learn from everyone else around you. I hope that helps you today. I hope that's my gift to you to be able to share with you the things that have helped me become successful, and I hope you too will become successful. And all I ask from each of you is one day when you're wildly successful, to just send me a note and say, thank you. I remember that gift that you gave many years ago. Hopefully not too many years ago. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jim Case, for that incredible, amazing time that you just had with us. I mean, you just said now, uh, when you become wildly successful, I like that component. When you become wildly successful, and we will be. Thank you for joining us in this free Smart and Culture Conference meeting. We are all excited to hang out with you, Mr. Jim. I want you to understand that this meeting is taking place with a lot of young people in the room who are people we call the Gen Z influencers. A lot of these young people have pulled a lot of following on social media, from TikTok to Facebook to Instagram and Twitter, and also across their communities, faith-based communities, nonprofit organizations, civil technology. We have them also from the technology space. We have those from finance. We have those from education, advocacy, civil society groups. Young people who are within the Gen Z demography, they're all here. We profiled 1,000 of them from across Nigeria. And it's amazing to know that when we looked at the figures, these young people in the room have a combined aggregate following of about 160 million people between them. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the power of the room right now. And you just spoke essentially to 100 million people at the minimum right now. So thank you so much for that powerful one. Those three C's are very powerful. You talked about collaboration, cultural literacy, and character. And it's easy. I mean, I was almost going to think that almost going to think that you were a lecturer, a professor, the way you broke down those into easy to pick alliterations. That's beautiful. Uh, Mr. Keys, the conversation today is gonna get us to have to ask probing questions because we have a huge situation with the current generation of young people that we work with. And number one, the Gen Zs in the room, and the young people who have experienced some of the most traumatic situations in their lives. Many of them got into school during the period of Ebola. We had the Ebola outbreak. A lot of them got out of school during COVID. So they've been sandwiched between two life-threatening situations in their lives. And but they've managed to make something out of themselves. Number two, if you do the social analogy of social psychological analysis of these young people within this bracket, you realize a lot of these young people that we are having to work with today have not really lived in a system that has worked. And so a lot of them do not have a reference point for what really works or what really could work. And so they are taking all of that shortcomings to try to thrive in the world that is so competitive, in the world where they have contemporaries in other parts of the world that have far more advantage than they have. And still, these young Nigerians are still doing the best that they can to be able to leverage whatever small opportunities that they've got to make a difference. These are the people in the room: tough, rugged, resilient, some of them coming from very broken places. The work we do in the Smarten House, we intentionally focus on all of those young people from low income communities or from underserved communities. The reason is because we realize that they are the diamonds in the mud. All right. A lot of the organized society don't pay a lot of attention to those kids, but those are the people who go on to seek political office at the grassroots level and eventually climb that ladder to become policymakers and lawmakers for us at the state level and sometimes at the federal level. And it's amazing the way that we have ignored that small section of our society. And so this manner has of coming to say, you know what, this is what we want to do differently. We will locate all of those young people, all right, who are susceptible to going into scam or criminality, and then we're going to track them. We're going to build systems that enables them to succeed, to find opportunities to connect with other people like themselves, and then find their place in the world. That's what we're doing. So what we have now chosen to do
That's
with
that's a beautiful mission. It's a beautiful mission. But let me add one thing. Let me add one thing specifically to those people, to those that cohort that grew up with such adversity, to just remind every one of them that their adversity is their superpower.
Mm,
It's their, if I had one advantage versus all of the rich kids in America, it was that I grew up poor and that I grew up with none of the advantages, and it built into me a sense of resilience and strength that none of the kids that had all of the advantage had. And that's why I love what you're doing, because I see me in your people. I see that resilience, that hunger for success. So I'm so pleased with what you're building, because you're bringing them together to give them the belief that their very adversity is their strength.
mm. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure what you just said now will greatly encourage a lot of young people here, because some young people have grown up to think that if you're born in the United States, you are automatically born into privilege. Yeah. So I'm sure that they will be uh, very shocked right now to learn that, oh, there is a successful American CEO who was born poor. How could you be white and poor? You know, those two things that seem to go together in the thinking of a lot of people here in Africa. We just assume that if you're white, you have to be right, you know, that kind of thing. But sharing that story reaches someplace really deep for all of us, and I thank you for sharing it. Now, I'm gonna put you on the spot, sort of, because there are a few things that we like to address, and I think that you're uniquely positioned to provide wisdom on some of these areas, both as a person of faith yourself and as someone with a vast experience of you have institutional memory, you understand how business works across continents, and then you also understand all of the hidden nuances that control businesses around the world. And that is why this is very, very powerful for us. One of the gifts we wanted to give these young Gen Z influencers is the opportunity to be able to speak to someone like you, because we need to start to understand that wealth comes with knowledge. So getting them to appreciate ideas and knowledge and experiences of those who've gone ahead of us, it's one of the most fundamental wealth softwares that we need to get young people to start appreciating more of. Now, 30th of May, we are going to hold a conference. Now, the overarching theme of this conference is to help these young Nigerians understand that integrity is or has economic value beyond just being a moral virtue. That's a conversation we want to have, because people need to understand. I'll give an example. A lot of young people have dabbled into scam, and as a result of that, and when you look at the percentage of how much money could be made through scam in comparison with how much money is out there, it's less than 0.3%. And imagine someone who gets into that 0.3% economy and then knocks themselves completely out of the vast, limitless opportunity of the nearly 99.9% economy that is out there. Because now there are doors you can knock, there are spaces you can get into because of nefarious activities that have closed all the doors. And so the idea here is to get young people to see that integrity has economic value just beyond being a moral compass. All right. So the whole conference is going to be zeroed in on raising the new generation of thinkers who start to think about integrity and service very differently. All right, because we need to reposition the next generation of Nigerians to be able to make a difference in the world. And this is how we believe we can make that difference. So I would like to begin by asking you a question. Now, this question is so important because there is this ongoing conversation that we're having in the country at the moment about the perception of the global market to Nigerian talent at the moment. As someone who has hired some of the best hands on the planet in the course of your work, who have had to work with a multicultural team that have global reach, what's your experience with Nigerian professional, and what are those lessons you think that young Nigerians should learn from your unique experiences with Nigerian professionals and the challenges and prospects that would probably have had you have had working with some Nigerian talents around the world?
Well, I will be very honest with you. Um, uh, the perception that many Americans have of Nigerian business comes from the oil industry, but it also comes from a very popular scam in the United States where someone will call around trying to raise money, representing themselves as a Nigerian business professional and an oil executive, and it's not true. Trying to borrow money, trying to raise money, et cetera, et cetera. It's to your point that it's not just an individual integrity, it's the collective integrity of an entire nation or an entire group that's
Mm.
critical. And so those around you can affect your integrity. I'm very worried about what's going on in the United States right now because the United States has always been a country where integrity and the rule of law was held at a very high premium. And there are many now that are breaking those rules. And I think it's hurting the reputation of America right now. Because if we lose trust, people cannot trust in American business and American government, American dollar, then we may never get that back in our lifetime. Because losing that trust is so critically important. Now, I share with you some of that perception about Nigeria that may be out there, and a lot of that is just it's urban legend. Um, that can be overcome because that's not a serious implication. I think Nigeria is new enough in its evolution of global opportunity that there truly is unlimited opportunity, not only for business creation, but for brand creation for Nigeria and Nigerian businesses to be able to create a brand. And without going too far, let me just give you one example. The Japanese post World War II, and this is only uh, 50 plus years ago, 50, 60 years ago, the Japanese were not considered to be trustworthy business people. The products were lacking quality and there was integrity in question of those products. But the Japanese were able to turn that around completely with a focus on quality and a focus on integrity, that you could trust those Japanese products and those Japanese companies. So they took a situation post World War II and did a complete turnaround in less than 50 years to be able to be one of the most trusted companies and countries in terms of business and product quality. I think Nigeria has an opportunity to do that far faster than 50 years because you're not coming from the situation that the Japanese came from. You're starting with almost a clean sheet of paper with an ability to create whatever brand you want. That's why it's important what you're doing because the brand will only be as good as the individual businesses and business people and their integrity and their focus on quality.
Thank you very much. That was really heartwarming. The Japanese example you just cited is incredible. I mean, it says to us that we have a chance to reinvent our own stories. And we have a chance to reposition Nigeria. And I'm going to show you these current Gen Zs that we're working with. They have a whole mind of their own. I mean, they are beginning to look at Nigeria differently from the point of view of their own unique experiences. And I am almost completely convinced that they have what it takes if we can have the right structure and system to help channel their talents and energies to the kind of outcomes of one. And those are the outcomes we're looking for. I mean, we're going to take this as a challenge. I mean, you saw we can do this in less than 60 years, and I absolutely believe that. In fact, you might be pleased to learn that we have crafted what we call a bold future for 2065, clearly 40 years from now. And the kinds of Nigeria that we want to see. And this is a future that has been crafted by Gen Zs. All right, we're coming together. We're coming to consolidate on that plan on May 30th because all of these young people are all coming together to help us drive change across critical sectors of growth in Nigeria, and it will be the drivers of the growth. Like we tell them, 40 years from now, you guys are going to be the captains of industry and the leaders of thought. So the Japanese example is very, very useful. Now, can you please give us a sense of what Nigerian talent really is, apart from the question of integrity and the trust deficit and all of that. Uh, do foreign employers consider Nigerian talent to be truly world class? Or are they usually dogged with the responsibility of having to train and retrain before we become remotely useful? Or do they consider this stack of skills that we bring into the job sufficient enough for us to start to make a difference? The reason why that's important is because there's a raging debate. Some people think that, on one hand, people probably do not have the quality of skills in the right quantity to be able to compete globally. On the other hand, some people I think we have more than enough supply. And we think that the only one way we can get an objective reality is to ask someone who has hired Nigerian talent or African talent, makes sense, and give us your appraisal of how you rate African talent, particularly those young people who do not have any overseas experience whatsoever. They're coming directly out of Africa. How do they compete globally? How would you assess that?
I assess it on the basis of determination, hunger, willingness to remember what I said about the will to win. A lot of people have the will to win. The question is, do they have the will to prepare to win? And this is what I think is the opportunity for the Nigerian entrepreneur, business person, is to demonstrate that willingness to prepare. You see, the rest of the world, especially the more developed world, America is a good example, has gotten lazy. They're resting on their success. And so if I had two potential employees, a Nigerian potential employee, an American potential employee, I might go for the Nigerian because they've got more hunger, more determination than someone who is perhaps feeling almost entitled or lazy. And so I think that's the opportunity. Now the other thing that of course I have to say is that education is so critically important. A lot of people are dismissing the importance of even a degree anymore, and that you can learn everything you need to learn on the internet, and that's very, very true. But I do believe that degrees are for the next 20, 30, 40 years going to be a very important credential. And so I encourage all of your audience to really focus on a combination. Learn as much as you can, but also don't forget the importance of that more formalized training and get it however you can get it. Let me give you one example of that. just as the Japanese example maybe was relevant for business, the Chinese government once did not encourage education for their people. In 1998, there was only 10% of the 18 to 24-year-olds in China that attended college. Today, that number is 61%. Now, if you look at the huge boom in technology and in innovation coming out of China today, many of those students came to the United States to go to school and then went back to China and became wildly successful. The example I gave you of a Chinese company doing business here in the United States has doubled down on the use of technology. And the point I'm making is that that focus on education to go from 10% of their population to 61% of their 18 to 24-year-olds is now 20 million college graduates a year. And I believe that that will be a prerequisite to competing in an age of technology going forward. So I strongly recommend, even if you're going to be an entrepreneur, to all of your audience, even if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you can do an entrepreneurial business while you're studying, while you're learning, while you're getting your degrees. So I encourage that focus. I think that will be an important step for Nigeria into the future to dramatically improve that educated, highly educated workforce.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was beautiful. I want to use the opportunity to tell our guys who are joining us on YouTube Live, and those of you in the studio here in Zoom, please, if you have one or two questions you would like Mr. Case to answer, you please put your questions on the chat room. I will read up one or two, see if we have time to take a couple of those. And also, if you're watching us from YouTube, so just right there, we have somebody from YouTube right now. His name is Stanley. Stanley is asking the question. He says, when you look at Africa today, what opportunities do you think the rest of the world is still underestimating? All right. Why are they not seeing? All right. It's a young man, Stanley, is asking this question from YouTube. He is directing that to you. What is it about Africa the rest of the world is still underestimating about us?
I think it's a simple equation. I think it's desire. It's the will to prepare. And that's what I see in Africa. That's what I felt tangibly in Ghana when I was there and had the privilege to meet several of you there. I felt a strong desire to win and a desire to prepare to win. And the very fact that you've invited me to participate on this call is evidence that the people of Africa want to learn and they want to grow. And that will to prepare is something that I see lacking in much of the rest of the world.
That's incredible. Wheels are prepared. So whether it's a wheel, there's definitely a way. And we used to tell the boys here in Nigeria that nothing is impossible to a young Nigerian who has the will and has a resource. We can do anything. I mean, you come here, we see how we were even running traffic to close a sale of a 15-hour sachet pure water. And that's how much we can go to achieve anything we set our hearts to do. But again, talking about setting our hearts to do things, a lot of startups have come out of Nigeria, and finding the right funding has often been the problem. And I think that it's an African-wide situation. Recently, we had the news of a young person, of course, born in America. He had this idea of something he'd like to come to Nigeria to do. And it was, I mean, at the ideation stage, he was able to still raise $7 million in pre-seed funding from Silicon Valley, $7 million. And if inversely in Nigeria you have young people who have set up, this is no longer an ideation stage. They have already proved the concept. They have been able to pilot. They, determine uh, market size, market viability, and they have the numbers together. Unfortunately, they're still not able to assess the kind of funding that somebody like that other gentleman was able to assess. So I'm wondering, what are we missing? Or how is it that many incredible young people with ideas, many of these ideas really viable, by the way, but unfortunately, we're not getting the funding. The Combinator has significantly reduced its exposure, its investment exposure to Africa in, significantly in the last couple of years. Nigeria is getting fewer and fewer of those dollar investments coming in. And of course, we have some incredible unicorn businesses that have come out of Nigeria. We have Mandela, we have the Money Point, we have a couple of others. So what's the scare, really? Why do we have these investment fatigue coming in the direction of startups in Nigeria?
Welcome to the world of entrepreneurism. I have tried to raise money. I can't raise money if my life depended. And I've had some great ideas, and I've been out, and it's me, and I've had some pretty good success. And I'm like, hey, would you give me $5 million for this idea? It's brilliant. It's going to change the world. And it's like, well, I don't know. It's hard, but you can't give up. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's almost like I think the reason that I am so accepting of the difficulty of raising money is that I've faced that my whole life. So I faced it as a kid saying college is impossible for you. You'll never be able to afford college. And I couldn't. So I worked 4 jobs to be able to afford college.
Wow.
I figured it out. I figured it out. But most people use it as an excuse because they go, oh, well, it's hard. Yeah, yeah. Success is hard. But but you can't give up. You've got to stay with it. And here's the other thing that I learned. We all get caught up in our ideas. And we think our idea is the best idea. Always. It's just natural.
Mm,
But the reality is, it's selling ideas is hard, but the bigger the idea, the easier it is to sell, I find. So a lot of people try to start simply and say, well, I'll come up with this little business, and this little business will be able to raise money and I'll be able to raise money for it because it's more practical. But sometimes it's harder to raise money for a practical little business than it is for a big idea. I find the big ideas sometimes resonate more effectively and they're easier to raise money for. But bottom line is, you must be persistent. You must stay the course because it's always going to be hard. There will always feel like there's no money for anything. But that doesn't, it should never be an obstacle. There's still a way to make it happen, even if you have to start small and prove your success along the way, which most of us have to do ultimately.
mm. That's a lot of wisdom. Thank you very much. Start small and grow big. Prove the viability of the product, and hopefully get the right people coming on board. Support you. I just want to take 2 more questions. I'll take them together, and then we start granting things to hold. We have taken some of your very valuable time. We are very grateful for this, Mr. Jim. We have a Dominion from Zoom. That's his name, by the way. Here in Africa, we like very fancy names. Dominion, kingdom, prosperity, effectiveness. They're all names, beautiful ones. All right, so here we have Dominion. It's writing from Zoom. He said, if you were mentoring a 20-year-old change maker in Nigeria, what would you advise them to obsess over in the next 5 years? somebody who is a change maker in Nigeria is 20 years old, what would you advise them to obsess over in the next 20 years? And we have another question from Obi. Obi is asking this question from YouTube. He said, what kind of intelligence becomes more valuable than technical skills at technical level? The question itself, is technical. So let me try to rephrase. Obi's asking, what kind of intelligence become more valuable than technical skills at executive level? As you just keep going up, what kinds of technical skills should a young person be looking to lock in? And we've been told severally that there is spatial intelligence, there is a people and social intelligence, there is all kinds of intelligences that work in tandem to situate somebody positionally to take advantage, especially in the executive cadre. The question this young man wants to know is whether those kinds of intelligences that are probably far more valuable than even technical skills that can help him thrive at the executive level. So those two questions, if you're
Yeah.
able to get them, we're happy to
Here,
take you on.
I'm gonna answer them both together. There is something that I call meta skills, and I'm calling them meta skills because it sounds nicer than soft skills. I've actually, if your audience is interested, I've created a website called Metaskill University, Metaskill University.com. And in there, I'm trying to encourage people to, and I'm learning, by the way. I've put an AI surrogate on there to answer questions on my behalf, that sort of thing. So I'm learning from this myself, but I believe that meta skills are those things that we don't necessarily learn in school, but they're the things that will be more important in the future, especially in a world of AI. Here's why. And let's just use the things that I've spoken about already. Adaptation to change. There's no school class that I remember that taught us how to deal with change. It's critically important to our career and our success. How do you build confidence? So I've got an example I use from my pilot training. I fly aircraft. I fly my own jet at 40,000 feet. And for the privilege of doing that, I have to train every year. But that training re basically reprograms my brain away from fear and into solutions. So if I have a crisis in the aircraft, I am trained to immediately go to 2 or 3 memory items that I have that I know how to fix that problem. And then I turn to data. I turn to a checklist and I methodically go through that checklist to solve the problem. That's using knowledge in a way that overcomes fear and it allows me to be confident. Well, we can use that same skill in the boardroom. We can use that same skill in the classroom. And it's all about that preparation that allows us to be confident. Now, all of those skills, let's say confidence, change, cultural literacy, no class on cultural literacy. How do we gain cultural literacy? We reach out, try to understand people that are not like us. Make a pen pal. In the old days, we called it pen pals. Reach out to someone on social media, get to know them, understand their culture. It's very accessible to us today. Um, the last one I'll mention, because it's the theme of your session, is character. There's no one teaches character in school. You might get it at church, you might get it at your mosque, you might get it in your social group or from your family. But character is one of those things that will be a skill that separates human from machine. Will a machine language will an AI robotic device, let's say, ever have human character? Will it ever have human compassion? Will it ever experience love in a very human way? I believe that those skills, those meta skills, those soft skills, our ability as humans to protect our character and our integrity will be what separates us from machines and what allows humanity to prevail, even in a world of AI. So that's what I would obsess over today, starting with character, is for the next 20 years, build your character so that no machine ever would be trusted as much as you as a person.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Jim. For those of you who are listening to this, you've heard Mr. K speak to us about why you must build cultural intelligence, social intelligence, situational intelligence, which you just spoke about, and character as intelligence, and that can help you dominate in a space that you walk into. That's really brilliant. Today has been such a learning journey with you, Mr. K. May 30th this month, we are going and man's into a physical environment where all these 1,000 Gen Zs are going to be gathered to learn together and, have this conversation about what kind of future that they want. Could you, in maybe a couple of minutes, speak to that conference? Give a charge to these young people who are listening to you right now. Speak to them like a father to a younger generation. What are your hopes, your aspiration? I mean, we're all humanity, and that the success of one part of humanity reflects very brilliantly on the others as well. So, what do you look to see in the future of Nigeria? And what challenge would you give this present generation in helping to shape that future? Mr. Case?
Yeah, I thanks for the opportunity because I truly believe that humanity is on the cusp of achieving greatness that humans have never seen before in the history of mankind. If you think about how many years humans have roamed the planet, and many of us believe that we came all from that same central northern Africa location, right? And then populated the world. But we've been teaching for much the same way for the last several thousand years. We have the opportunity today as humans to elevate human learning in a way that humanity has never seen before. If we embrace the tools that are available at our fingertips. The country of Malawi, as an example, just announced that they were going to give a tablet to every child in the country, and they were going to put an AI tutor on so they'd have 100% literacy in the country.
Mm.
Why not? Why don't we all do that? Why don't we make that a worldwide objective? 100% literacy. And starting there, imagine what humanity could accomplish if all of us are able to elevate our learning, accept cultural literacy, accept that we're all one people on one planet, collaborate, and all of us together work on our character. Those things we talked about today. Just imagine what human can accomplish together if we look at it this way. And if Nigeria wants to have a bright future, I encourage all of you who come together for this session to look at that objective and say, why can't Nigeria lead the way for all of humanity to embrace knowledge and embrace these meta skills like collaboration, cultural literacy, character as the things that will set Nigeria apart and demonstrate to the rest of humanity what's possible for humans elevating our ability to learn, to work together, and to accomplish great things. I believe it's possible, and I believe that technology will be that enabler. And I encourage Nigeria to lead the way. And those of you who are on this call now are the ones who have the tools at your fingertips. I'm holding in my hand a portal to unlimited learning, absolute portal to unlimited learning. Each of you has the opportunity to embrace that unlimited learning capability and to use it to elevate the Nigerian people in a way that humans have never seen before.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Challenge accepted. We accepted that today. Right away. We are gonna take that on. And I'm gonna show you the Gen Zs on this call are passionate about changing things. They are not a regular run on the mill. They want to see things change. A lot of them are Web3 and they have been faced with a wall of impossibility because of stereotypes that are held globally about our people. And we want to do something to change that. And we are committed over the next few years. We are launching a very massive community because Nigeria, we are we're very community conscious. We like to work within a collective. And we are going to stretch this as a culture. We want to bring more and more young people into this movement of, retaking our place with the rest of the world based entirely on merit and character. And we believe that we're going to get this done. I want to thank you, Mr. GMK, for joining us today and giving us this incredible hangout session as part of our activities ahead of the Smart and Culture Conference. This conference is going to be held here in Lagos and it's going to be streamed live around the world for everybody to be a part of that conversation. I want to thank you for your concern, for your love for Africa, and particularly for your love for Nigeria. We are really looking forward to hosting you in Nigeria. All these young people are excited to be in the same room with you at some point. So while you're touring Africa, please find some place to put Nigeria on your calendar, please. We need you to come. We want to be able to host you and come with your friends and help us open up spaces for many of these young people who want to do things right to be able to get a chance to do so without being held back because of the errors of others. I want to thank you very much. At this point, I'm going to ask everybody on the call if you can please um, uh, open up your video. Okay. If I can ask the admin to unmute them right now as we wrap things up. If you can unmute everybody and everybody please turn on your video. Let's all, I want to see your faces out there. And those of you who are on YouTube, I just want to thank you for joining in. I know the okay, that's great. I can hear your voices. The room is bubbling now. Thank you, Mr. Case, for joining us. This is all of us from Nigeria saying, have yourself an incredible rest of the morning. And it's evening over here for us.
James.
We really appreciate you. So, guys, what are you going to say to
I've
Mr.
got to get a
Case?
picture of this.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Mr.
much
Great.
for
Let's say
staying.
thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you very much,
Jam.
sir.
Everybody, let me hear you say that.
Thank you
you,
very much,
Mr.
sir.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, attention.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Great.
Thank you, Mr. James. The video of the session is going to be available for those who missed it. And we are going to have a trailer of it prepared, especially to come. So I want to encourage everybody, start preparing for the conference. May 30th, make sure you are at the venue of the conference from 8:30 in the morning. Get yourself settled down. We're going to have a wonderful time. So thank you, and God bless you. Hand over now to the ED. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jim. Thank you so much. That was such an insightful one. It's like you have a fresh download of knowledge and wisdom for us every time. I mean, what I had in Ghana is not completely, but a fresh layer of insights. And that's beautiful. I want to be like you when I grow up someday, right? And to all the influencers who have joined us, thank you. Special thanks to Smart and Dad for anchoring this session, known as Mr. Johnson Abali. Thank you guys so much. Do not miss it. May 30th is important. I'll see you at the conference hall. Thank you guys. Bye.